Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. And Joyce, it's a great week because one of our favorite shows is back.
It's May. Today's Wednesday, May 1st. And then tomorrow, May 2nd, Hacks is back.
Oh man, what a treat.
If this might be my favorite show of the year.
I think of I would agree. Of non
But hey,
especially
you said Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I think of non-return of like returning shows. I put this on like so when I do like this in my head, I'm like, okay,
When you're ranking in your head.
when I'm ranking in my head, because there's no letterbox for TV, which is a really obvious open market that should just be existing, right? Like, how is there no letterbox for TV?
There shouldn't be.
There
So
absolutely should be.
there shouldn't be.
And you should not be logging TV shows on Letterbox. I was looking and I was like, people are logging Baby Reindeer on there. And to that, I say, this, thumbs down.
This is why I stay away from Letterboxd.
So when I was thinking in my head, in my fictional TV letterbox, which would, I don't even know what it would be called, TV box,
No.
set top box?
I mean, it's not called Film Boxed.
No. Well, letterbox because of the bars. We'll workshop this later. But when I think about it, I'm like, okay, new shows are one thing, and then shows that exist previously would be like another level, right? So like it's hard to compare like a great show that's continuing versus like a new show. That's how I think.
Yeah, like it's definitely for me. I mean, I don't rank anything, but
No.
it's definitely harder for shows to return. And if they had a great first season and be up to that level and even surpass it, that's why you have sophomore slumps.
And so I think we both you like season 2 of Hacks more than me. I don't think it was a sophomore slump, but I don't think it was as good as season 1.
Well, as we already established, you don't like when people tour.
Definitely am not into the touring. Not a touring fan.
So that's why you don't like it. You don't like the tour.
And when it ended, I was like, if it ended there, it'd be fine. But they could obviously go to other places with it. It was like it could have been a perfect season finale or a series finale. They bring it back. It's best than it's ever been. It's better than season 1. It has never been this
It
good.
is their best season by far. And the first two seasons, I thought were great.
Yes.
But this is easily its best one.
Well, we could definitely agree on that. It is so good. Incredibly watchable.
I mean,
Great.
I've watched the whole season twice already,
I
and I
will
was
watch it again.
this close to watching it a third time, but I'm like, no, I have other shit to do.
I have a lot of shows to watch, Joyce.
I know.
But I definitely will rewatch it once it's now on Max because it is a Max show, not an HBO
It is
show.
a Max show, and it's 9 episodes this season, and it's two a week. So it's gonna end on the 30th with the ninth episode, just one that week. So but yeah, it's Uh, I mean, there's not a lot of embargoed stuff on it. I think there's like three elements we can't talk about that they specified, but it's not a secret that they do a 1 year time jump, which I think was really good.
Yes, you could watch it right now if you're
Yes,
watching
the two
this.
episodes, and obviously they're all like 30 minutes. So
So the time jump happens like right away, so it's not a
yes,
spoiler.
yeah,
Uh, you're watching and you're like, how did it end? Last season ends with Deborah firing Ava, like a mercy firing,
yes, after the comedy special.
and
And then Ava, she, her gig is to like pitch alts at the Ice Age 12 writers room.
yes, I wonder
So
how
it
that
ends.
turned out.
I mean, they do reference it frequently this season. Yeah, I mean, in the premiere too, because
They reference it in the premiere for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, because
Uh,
she runs into two fellow writers who were also there in that Ice Age 12 room,
yes,
and yeah, it ends with season two ends with Deborah selling her back buddy thing on QVC. Remember
hmm
when you have to zip your dress by yourself? Yeah. Um, but it's also not a spoiler to say that this season, uh, Deborah is chasing her white whale, which is late night TV. This is something that's already out there that the creators, Nuccia Agnello, Paul W. Downs, and Jen Statsky have talked about. So that's basically the premise of the whole season.
fantastic premise.
Hmm.
And again, definitely love the Jesse Armstrong idea that nobody changes, and I think you see that a lot in this show too. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you do actually see the change. This show is great because I think it does repudiate that idea because they do change in certain ways, both characters, but fundamentally they're still the same. And so Deborah's
Yeah.
obsession with late night certainly carries through here, and is played off incredibly well throughout the whole season.
Yeah, they you see because they're changed by the presence of having each other in their lives. So obviously, like Ava comes back into her orbit.
Yes.
So also not a spoiler. People are so weird about spoilers. I feel like I have to say this every single fucking time. If it's in the fucking trailer and if the talent have talked about it, it's not a spoiler because this is information they want you to know.
Correct. There was
So,
on Entertainment Weekly this week, Joyce,
mhm.
written by our friend Jared Hall, who's in the premiere episode of
Oh
Fast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's like a montage in the beginning. Yeah.
They're at the Time 100 Gala, and
Yeah.
Jared and Mark Malkin and I think Nikki Novak, is that who it is from Extra, or who is it?
Yeah, because Jean is obviously, or Deborah is absolutely one of the Time 100, so
Yes.
she's doing the carpet. Yeah.
So they talked about this in anything about their reunion and stuff, and yeah, it is so great. The first episode is it's just the whole thing is fantastic. It is so good.
Yeah, and I think I think the 1 year time jump is good because so like they're both, they moved on with their lives and they're successful. No, because like obviously Deborah had the special, her comeback and everything, and Ava went on to write for this late night show, like a Last Week Tonight type of show.
Very
So
funny.
yeah, so then you just kind of like it's kind of like, being like sucked back into like you can't say no to someone. I think we all have experienced something like that, like nothing to like this degree. And then it's like the you also kind of like the fight with that person too, even though it's like you don't agree with them all the time, which I think is also very fundamental in relationships because I feel like whether it's like platonic or romantic, it's like you don't want someone who agrees with you all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
just fucking boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want someone who kind of challenges you, and I think they both kind of like that challenge and that fight, especially Deborah.
So there's a great moment in the first episode where Deborah is, like we said, like a complete runaway success at this point, right? And it's in the early stages of this season 3 premiere where they kind of do like a montage of like her like life, like the Time 100 thing, and then like her doing a stand-up set and just getting laughs for nothing, right? And like kind of like you could tell she's not loving this
And she doesn't like that everyone is just laughing when she opens her mouth.
and then they cut to like her in her kitchen and she's got all her little salt shakers that has been like a runner. And the music cue they use is Ava's theme. Cause I was like, man, this is such a great music cue. It sounds like Radiohead. And I was like, what is this? Cause it sounds so familiar. And it was like, oh yeah, that's Ava's theme. So it's like they're seeding already that she like needs Ava. And I was like, man, the filmmaking on this is so great. And it's like such a subtle thing that if you had watched the show or you would just know that she like needs Ava and she kind of like reorganizes the salt shakers in a different fashion to like at least show she has some control, I guess, or whatever it is, right? Like it's just
Well, she also can't sleep. It's like
so good. It's so
frustrated.
good. And
So
so Ava, the other thing I think they do that's really interesting that I loved is in the first 2 seasons, obviously Ava's like a loser, basically, right? Would you say? Like, I mean, generously, but like not a great
but she
success.
was canceled, and
And
yeah.
now she's actually a success in her own right. And I found that like really
Mhm.
a great way to take it in that year break because it's like she actually does pay off Deborah's firing by
Yeah.
becoming like a success. She's obviously not like running her own thing. Like she's not running the John Oliver show, but like she's like a successful member of that staff and like an up and coming member of the show and like on a great path of success. And I found that like really interesting to bring her back into Deborah's orbit, if not on even footing, like not in the same position she was previously. And I was like, man, that's like a great way that was such a great choice. I feel like that's like a really, because they could have just made it where she's a still struggling loser.
Yeah, I mean, in the premiere, like they cross paths at this comedy festival, and Ava is there because her boss like asked her to be on the panel, like go with him, to do the panel. So yeah, like it's good that she it because it'll be boring if she has not amounted to anything in like the year in between, because then it's just like back to the same dynamic. So now it's like she is successful and she's on the rise and she you know, it's like she could be like EP of the show one day, right? Like,
Yeah. Like that's
and
kind of like, yeah, that's I think where
yeah,
she
like
would want
that's
to
the
go.
path that like she seems to be on at this show. So it's like the same thing. It's like she like can't say no to Deborah.
And
So
she has
she's
this
like,
like her personal life is going well. Like all these
yeah.
things are like going well for her. And yeah, the way she comes back into Deborah's life feels like really right. I think they did it like we said, I think doing a time jump is great because it's like you get the weight of the choice, right? It's not like if they just picked up like a few weeks later and she comes back, there's no like stakes there. But even though we haven't seen the last year, it's like you're able to catch up pretty quick. And then so you understand like the time away feels like real and significant, and the hurt feelings there are kind of like fleshed out in like the early part of the season before they like really kind of reconnect.
Yeah, and it's also like now that she's been away from her and she has been successful, is like she can stand up for herself.
yes.
Like
And
she could set some boundaries
and
too.
we're she does, and that even is in the trailer. I think that's in one of the trailers too, where you see her like being like, "Don't make fun of my hair" or something. I think that's
Yeah.
like that's a funny cold open in one of the later episodes. We're not gonna, we don't need to spoil it, but the finale, I was like, as good as the season 2 finale was, season 3 finale is like so much better. And I don't want, again, not even gonna think about spoiling it. I won't even allude to anything that happens, but the show does something that, and I don't want to spoil this either. But in Challengers, there's a great moment towards the end of Challengers where something happens, and the way it's telegraphed enough that I think right before it happens, you know it's going to happen. And so as the audience, you feel like, oh my God, this is really happening. And the same thing with this, where it's like it's not a surprise, but it feels like the audience is catching on just
It's because
before.
like because in between you forget about it a little bit, but like you still
And
remember it
yes, and
that it's
and you
there.
remember it like right as it's happening. It's a really great trick that I think like really incredibly talented filmmakers are able to pull off, where it's like you're able to keep the audience, like the audience has this knowledge, is aware of this knowledge, but it's not knocked over the head with this knowledge. And then later when it comes back around, it feels like a great surprise that they've been primed for, and it's like
So
really fun.
something I'm been so okay. So with challengers, I won't like we won't say what the thing is, but
No,
even though it's all over Twitter
fine.
since Zendaya storied it last week. But so I read the script 2 years ago, and in the script, like early on, in literally in the first act, when they're just kind of like introducing the characters and also describing their style of play, um, like Justin describes the thing that is important later and like literally puts in parentheses if like if you're into tennis you'll notice this right away, and it's if you don't, it's really not important right now that you don't like notice this.
Okay.
And then so like you know, and then there's like later on there's like a scene discussing this thing. So as I was like reading it I was like okay, and then like later on in the third act something happens that connects to this thing. So then when I was reading it I was like oh shit, like this is gonna come back. So I obviously did not read the Hack season 3 finale script
No.
before I watched it. So I wonder like what if like I guess like this is a question for the actors I guess, but it's like when you're reading that like do you think like, oh, this is definitely gonna come back around later on, you
I
know,
you
like
know
I did with Challengers, like, because I was like clocking it with Challengers.
I'm gonna have to. I might get to talk to some of these people from Hacks.
You need to ask them. You need
So
to
I'll
ask.
ask Hannah Einbinder
Yeah,
exactly this.
because I was
Uh,
like, I was prepped for the Challengers thing. So like, so that was what I was thinking of with
Hacks. That's
Hacks,
funny.
and I also saw the finale, or like I watched Hacks the whole season 3 before I saw Challengers,
Right.
like days before too.
Right.
So then it was like funny because it was like you said, it's like a similar type of thing where it's like you want the audience to anticipate something and then feel smart
Yes.
when they
And
clock
it's
it.
and they really pull it off in such
Yeah,
a
and
great.
it
It's
works really well,
so
you know.
good. And the
Yeah.
show is just fantastic. So the ending is great, and I was just like immediately like, holy shit, I want season 4 like right now. It ends in a great fashion, and yeah, I thought like you see in these first couple episodes, obviously, like, and we've talked about this from Emmy's perspective, and will they kind of remain interested in this show, right? In terms of like Gene, who has won twice already, and maybe Hannah wins for the first time in a category that's more opened. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe not. I'm hoping, I'm always thinking of you. You said this You said this the other day to me, I think on Slack, where you're just like, it's so cute that you think the quality matters for this. But I'm
Okay,
like,
that was like 2 weeks ago, and it was about Under the Bridge.
I know what
You
it was
felt
about, but I'm just saying, like, this show is fantastic.
yeah, like it's. I mean, I've said this before with Hacks. Is like my concern with it is that it'll become like Barry upon its return. Like
Yes.
it's won stuff before, and it's obviously been nominated for series, but it has never won. And then when Barry came back with season 3, um, it got the nominations, but didn't win anything above the line. So like Hacks is obviously not going to be snubbed. Like it's going to
No,
get the nominations. So
certainly.
now it's really like a question of like, I mean, it's not going to win series, unfortunately,
So it won't
but
win series, even
yeah, but
at
it's like,
all.
Can Jean three-peat? You know, can Hannah win? I don't know if it's not gonna win writing. It's definitely not gonna win directing.
So I think if it was up, it depends on what they like put up, right? But I would
They'll do so
assume,
like they do a succession
yeah,
strategy where they just submit one writing. So I think they'll just submit the finale.
probably.
And then they usually just do Lucia for directing. Unlike
Right.
Succession, they do multiple directing up. So they didn't have the credits on the screeners for the finale, but I'm assuming she directed the finale.
I think she also directed is the fifth episode where they're in the woods though.
Yeah.
So I think she could submit that. She directed that one too, I believe.
Um yeah, but I feel like they might just link up
To the
like it's
finale.
like the finale,
Yeah,
and that's the more important episode. Like
sure.
the fifth episode is really good. That's like basically just a two-hander between Jean and Hannah.
Yeah, and it's like a turning point in the season in terms of their
Yeah.
relationship, I feel like. And it is quite good. I could see that being like Jean's episode, frankly. Not that it matters, but
She has like great uh speech in it.
yeah.
And I mean the finale is good for her too, but that's more of a Hannah.
I feel like Hannah would get the finale.
Yeah, Hannah has she has multiple big moments, but she has like one big moment and then like the final moment too.
The I guess the problem is like this, like we were saying, like Hack season 3. God, I love the Bear, but Hack season 3 is better than the Bear season 2. That said, they're not going to really be, even though these are for the Bear season 2, the voters are obviously going to be thinking of the Bear season 3, and we do not know yet what the Bear season 3 holds. And maybe the Bear season 3 is even better than Hack season 3. And so it's hard to imagine like I do think Hannah, like if I was like I still think Hannah could win because there's no real strong Bear actor in the category right now. And we've talked about this a lot. Meryl Streep, while she's amazing on Only Murders, feels like she's being overpredicted because she's Meryl Streep. And she has not like a great Emmy winning track record, nor Oscar winning track record in the last like
Yeah, we
15
talked about this
years.
in our column last week,
Yes.
but I think people think she's won more than she has, and
Yes.
especially in the last like 12 years, and she
Yes.
hasn't. So,
And so while she can win, certainly, and I would be like, oh, of course, Meryl Streep won. For a show they don't love, they don't love, it just seems like they might go to Hannah or somebody from The Bear, or even Cheryl again for Abbott, who's been great on the third season. And third season, Abbott is actually quite good and better than the second season. So I do think Hannah has a better shot, maybe than Jean, only because I'm like, yeah, Jean should win in a bubble, but it's not in a bubble. And Io in season 3 of The Bear, even though she's up for season 2, could have even more stuff to do in season 3. And maybe she just easily wins.
yeah, I mean, I've always had Hannah in first, like way before I saw the
Yeah.
season, and after seeing it, I'm like, I don't really have a reason to move her out of first,
No.
you
I,
know?
I, I don't either. I was just like, I just don't know who I would put in first. Like, I guess the obvious answer would be Meryl, but I'm like, I don't believe
No.
that. So, like, with The Bear, again, The Bear could like one like I would not be surprised if like Liza Colon Zayas like pops in season 3 and then all of a sudden is like what if she gets her forks in season 3?
She could, I don't
And then
know.
she could win, right? Like that's an
Yeah,
easy
even
one to
though this is
imagine.
for season 2,
Yes.
but it could also easily just be like supporting actress for Succession. It's like, you
Mhm.
know, they could just be J. Smith Cameron, but is there a Jennifer Coolidge in this category?
Not really. Maybe Hannah because she's like a lead.
Yeah, I mean she is a co-lead, yeah. So it's like I don't know. I mean I want Hannah to win. I think especially for this season. Like in the past, like, you know, if she had won, it'd be like awesome, great. But I think she definitely deserves it for this season.
It always felt like this, like for me. I remember when we were talking about this in season 1, it felt like she was not widely predicted to even get nominated.
Yeah. We adopted her.
We definitely
Uh,
manifested that. So like in season 1, it was like, man, it'd be great if she gets nominated because she's so good. And then season 2, it's just like, fine, she's nominated. Right? I mean, like it wasn't like
Yeah, she wasn't winning. I don't think she was like widely predicted to win for season 2 either.
no, I
I
don't
don't
think so. And then, but now, like we said, I think she's the best she's ever been in season 3, and so would be a deserved winner. The thing I was wondering, and you would know this, is like how infrequently would it like never have like I don't know what are like historically would they pick someone in the 3rd season of a show that they've nominated twice but haven't like thought enough to win? Like, would this be like a real
I mean, like,
outlier?
why not? Like Kieran and Sarah just won for the 4th season. They never won. I mean, they also changed
Mm-hmm.
categories,
Right.
but they never won. Like Matthew won for season 3 first.
Okay.
So it's just like it, but you know, it's like there's no reason. I think like there's more of a demerit for someone like Cheryl than for Hannah,
Okay. How come?
just because we don't know if they're like willing to go back
They historically,
to
it seems
Cheryl.
they don't go back. It seems they just don't like going backwards.
And also like in this category, like if they literally for like the past decade, if you win multiple, it's usually back to back
Right.
and then they move on. So it's like Allison Janney back to back, Kate McKinnon back to back, Alice Borstein back to back. Annie Murphy couldn't do it back to back because she won for the last season. And then they didn't do Hannah Waddingham back to back
Right.
because Cheryl beat her.
And then they didn't do
Um,
Cheryl back to back because
yeah.
Io beat her. Do you think so? Then, like in terms of Jean versus Io, Io could be back to back, but not in the different category, and they could just be like, no problem. Jean has already won back to back, but missed a year.
Missed only because she was ineligible. So
Correct.
it's like
So it's not like a real miss, but she was out of sight, out of mind at least last year. Now back. I don't know. I'm just like,
and
does
I mean
that
last year was also a mess, and then they just gave it to Quinta.
correct? I don't know, or actually, it was this year, as we recall
But
fondly.
it's last year.
I know. I don't know. I'm just like that one. I have Io still in first in that one, and I just don't know how. I don't know. I don't know. I would love to see Jean win. I'd also love to see Io win. And like we said, who knows? It's hard to like figure out because I have not seen episodes of The Bear season 3, even though they're not voting for Bear season 3. It obviously is a huge factor in their voting.
Jean has also never lost a comedy Emmy. She all 5 of her Emmys are in comedy categories. So
Yeah,
also I think, you know, regardless of how you personally feel about these shows, I think everyone can agree that Hacks is a comedy and is funnier than The Bear. So if you are like a voter and you're like a stickler about these things, like, does that matter to you? That like Jean is funnier in her show than Io is in her show.
a great question, unanswerable question.
I mean,
But
we know most of them don't care because it won 10 Emmys, The Bear.
Hacks
But
is absolutely a comedy.
yes,
Very funny. I
yes.
compared it to Entourage, which I know you don't like to hear, but it is as funny as Entourage when Entourage is good.
I mean,
Philadelphia.
Entourage is funnier than The Bear. So,
Entourage is way funnier than The Bear. Entourage is still funny. Having rewatched it recently, still got
like,
the
I
comedy.
don't, because I feel like Io also, so much of the love for her is also just because of like her herself, like not necessarily her work, right? It's like her work, but also just like her personality
So
and
here's the thing
everything.
I was wondering with Io in terms of like her Emmy win for season 1, which was really helped by season 2, certainly. Not that she wasn't also great in season 1. Is like when they were like Emmy voting was happening a peak IO moment,
In the
even
summer.
with the strike, right? Like it was like she was everywhere. She had multiple movies, The Bear season 2, like ascendant star, right? And so like everyone wants to be in the IO business. So they're going to vote for her to win an Emmy, especially in a category where why wouldn't she win, right? Basically. And so now, even if season 3 is fantastic, is the has the Io-ness peaked a little? And now is it like people still love her, but there's no like she's not like as visible as she was prime, even with the strike. She was like
last summer.
incredibly visible last summer, right? And like this year, right now, not as visible. I'm sure she'll be back into it with when they're doing Bear Press, but I don't know.
I guess it depends on just how season 3 is and the reception to season. I feel like even if the season is mid, and I'm not saying it's going to be mid, but let's say it is, I feel like oh, it would still kind of be overpraised because I feel like it's kind of in that like sweet spot where like people are much more forgiving of its possible shortcomings.
I
And
think
like it might take
yeah,
like another year before people are harsher on it.
it would if assuming I'll be positive and say probably just great because I think it's a great show.
Yeah,
But
like
let's just say
I love the
I know
bear
you
and
do,
I think it's
but
great.
let's just say for argument's sake it's not. I think season 3, if it's like a little mid, would be like
Mhm.
Ted Lasso season 2, where it's like
Yeah, people are still kind of like, no, it's still great.
it's still
And
good. There's
yeah,
still some fun
yeah,
stuff. I
yeah.
really liked
Mhm.
it. And then season 4 of Mayor, if it was mid again, people would be like, "Fuck this show, I'm out."
Yeah. I mean, they are making season 4 right
I
now.
know, I know.
So
I'm just saying, like, if these are not
yeah.
as
Hmm.
successful, so that still wouldn't probably affect this year, basically.
No.
So
Like I think it's winning series, like
it
regardless.
absolutely. I mean, like, I would have no it like that is feels like the lockiest lock
Hmm.
of locks, and Jeremy feels like the lockiest lock of locks,
Yes.
and Evan feels like the
And Evan
lockiest lock of locks.
officially
So
for forks.
so 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 we're left with like Io, who feels very strong. Like I said, even though I like what I'm saying, I think is true. If the wild card is like we don't have the season 3 data yet to help us figure out how she'll win for season 2, whereas Jean is now like I guess I would say Jean is like leader in the clubhouse because while Io has season 2, Jean is I think incredible in Hack season 3, but Io gets the last word because of the Bear season 3.
Do you think it actually helps Jean that she was ineligible last year? That like people don't think she's been over rewarded because they skipped a year?
Yes, a little bit. The flip side of that is did they just forget that they liked her so much? And are they just like, yeah,
I
I'm
don't
over
think they
this?
would because I think they will watch Hacks, so I think they'll just be reminded of how great she is, you
Yeah, I
know?
actually think this is her best season, and the way it goes into Deborah's personal life and dovetails that with like the late night stuff that we've been talking, like you were talking about, is like incredibly strong.
Yeah,
And I
and
think there's probably a lot like so the guest categories we can't predict yet, but I would say Hacks will do, if not as well as it did for season 2, I think very well in these categories. Certainly, I think J. Smith Cameron and Helen
mhm,
Hunt would be top competitors there, along with Jamie Lee and
yeah.
Olivia Colman, and who else?
Um, I mean, they could just do Christina Hendricks for she's only in one episode of Hacks,
I,
but very memorable.
memorable, but I would be let's just say I would be
No,
surprised if she didn't make it.
it's like that one is like for the fans, like it'll be a fan fave that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for
Um,
actor,
Christopher McDonald again.
fantastic.
Goldwyn is fine.
He's got a functional part.
Yes.
It's like he is a part of the show.
Yes.
Uh,
I mean, he plays like an important character
yes,
in the
that's what
plot.
I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He's like a functional part of the show. How about Christopher Lloyd?
Um,
Fun, but I don't think so.
yeah, I don't know. It just depends on like how hard they go and also because I mean, actually both categories could just be hacks and bears.
I think so. I mean, the bear I think will dominate the actor category because you have Bernthal, Will Poulter,
Yeah.
Bob
Bob.
Odenkirk,
Yeah.
right?
And then they'll throw like Ryan Gosling in there.
Ryan
Yes.
Gosling, and then maybe like Christopher McDonald,
Hmm.
who, if you're a fan of Happy Gilmore, you'll be delighted with this season.
There's a lot of golf.
Shooter, my favorite. Uh, we didn't talk about supporting actor. I think we talked about this again in our column. This is like Paul W. Downs. I felt like we were trying to manifest that for season 2. It didn't happen, but I think we could get him in for season 3.
I have had him in there. And I'm not gonna move him out right now.
I got him at 100 to 1, Joyce.
Do I have him at 100 to 1? I don't even know. Let me see.
He is absolutely fantastic. I think
I mean, he's always been fantastic.
He's so funny, and he's really great, and I think they do a good job of like naturally moving him. Not, I don't know how to like put this. It's like he's not like just there to function as like a joke machine. It's like he actually has like a good, like a humanity arc this season. I found
Yeah, like
quite
he has his
good.
own plot line. So like
Yeah.
obviously Jimmy and Kayla split off from Latitude
Yes, Jerry
last season.
Maguire.
Yeah. He bought the Mocha Master, taught them how to use it, and they didn't use it. So
Just
um yeah, and then so like they're a little like, they're a tiny firm, but like they have some clients and they're trying to sign more clients, like in the premiere hilarious miscommunication or just misinterpretation, really.
fantastic. Meg Stalter is so great, and I really wanted to put her in too, and I just don't have her in.
I
Uh,
don't have her in either, and I feel like she's like probably top 10. I don't know. Maybe if like the category becomes 8 slots, I might do it. I don't know.
I think if the category became 8 slots, I'd have her in. Right now, I still have like I'm somewhat against the grain a little because I still have Molly Gordon in for the Bear, and then I have the top 7 in the odds.
I mean, I think Molly can get in.
So I have Hannah, Merrill, Shirley Ralph, Liza Colon, Zayas, Abby Elliott, Janelle James, and Molly Gordon. I just have all Abbott and the Bear. I mean Abbott and the Bear, and then Only Murders and Hacks, just one each. But I would love for Meg Stalter to get in. I don't know
Yeah,
how
and
she
like
can.
Kayla also has her own arc as well, because like their joint arc throughout the season is just them finding their way as co-workers and like co-founders, I guess, of their firm, and Kayla proving her value and like what she contributes to this team, which is probably more unorthodox than
Yes.
people, the usual type of people in this game. And then um yeah, and there's a pickleball episode.
I knew you were going to be excited about that.
I'm so excited, as you can tell from my tone slash
Well,
sarcasm.
it's not a. I don't. I thought you would be excited because it's not a positive pickleball episode.
No, it's not. And I love like how much like Paul W. Downs is like chagrined by it, because he was like, I only signed up because I thought it was tennis. I'm like, this is my man right here. um but yeah, there's like a lot of good stuff with them, and then they have like you also like find out stuff about like his family life too. So
Yeah, Deidre Hall is a guest appearance in the season that they announced too, so it's not a spoiler.
yeah,
I just was reading Entertainment Weekly article about this.
yeah, there's the only person we can't say who they play is J. Smith Cameron, I think.
No, I think that's true. I will just say this: if you've ever watched a show and you give it a moment of thought, you'll probably be able to figure it out on
I
your own.
mean, you figured it out in your dream. Like
Yeah,
Dream Chris figured it out.
Dream Chris figured it out. So I think if you give it a moment of thought, you would figure it out. So that's all. It's not a spoiler to say that. I
It's
think
not a
if you
spoiler, but
think
or
critically
like
about the show.
we can't say what happens between them,
No,
obviously.
I wouldn't even want to, but I'm just saying, it's
No,
like
no.
if you give it a
That's
modicum
for the
of,
fan experience.
yeah, if you give it a modicum of thought, or
Yeah,
your dream self gives it a modicum of thought.
yeah. Your
Uh,
subconscious self can figure
literally
it
had a dream about this. Joyce. Woke up and I was like, oh shit, that's it. Okay,
So
yeah.
do you often remember your dreams like right when you wake up? Because I
Sometimes,
forget
sometimes
them
I do. Sometimes
so
I do.
often.
No, sometimes I
I'm
do.
like I'm like so into my dream, and then I wake up and I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened? But this you
Dream self.
remembered.
Dream self. So hacks. Fantastic. I also have Carl Clemens Hopkins, and I think we talked about this.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
he'll
he
get
can come
in.
back
I think he'll
though.
come back too. He doesn't have as much to do as I think you would hope, but he's very good in what he does. How's that?
He has his own arc too.
He does. I just
Yeah.
wish there was. I actually wish there was more of his arc. I found like it's silly, but I actually find like a lot of the shows like like machinery interesting. Like I like not just the jokes and like the relationships, but I actually like the business side of the show and like how they talk about it. Like I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I think it's like interesting to watch him like keep the Deborah empire up and running.
Yeah.
And you don't really see like in terms of like not to go back to Entourage, but as in Entourage, you're not like seeing as much of like the machinery of Vince. It just is like Vince is super rich and he just got another fucking tequila ad or something, or Turtle runs a tequila company, all this stupid stuff. But I'm like, in this show, you actually see like the inner workings of how to be a celebrity when you're not just a celebrity. You know what I mean? And like, I
Yeah,
think that's
your
really
team, what
interesting.
they do, the
Yeah.
CEOO, as
Yeah.
Marcus is.
It's like really interesting. Like, I like that aspect of it. So I was like, oh, it would be cool if there was actually more of this in this season.
Yeah, there was like a point midway through the season where, because they like kind of set something up early in the season with him. I'm like, oh, when are we gonna come back to this?
Yes.
And it's like later on.
Yeah, they do come
So,
back to it. And again, that'll be a good position. Another reason why I was like, man, season 4, let's fucking go.
hmm yeah,
You
because
know,
there's like I guess you could call it a cliffhanger, or like it's like unresolved, kind of. It's like there's information the audience knows that certain characters don't know.
yeah. Eh,
Yeah,
Just a fantastic show. I think it'll get, like we said, I mean, I know it'll get writing and directing nominations. I have a hard time imagining it'll win over The Bear.
over Fishes.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll get the guest acting nominations. I think it'll get these acting nominations, whether it wins or not, at least probably 3, if not 4 total of like the main acting nominations. I'm assuming Carl's in, and then Paul, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
Um,
then like all its crafts, I think could be competitive. So I'm like, I think it'll be like highly
I think I'll
top.
get like the teens in the
Yeah.
teens again. So
15, 16, 17
yeah, like I'll
nominations.
get like editing, yeah, like costumes, like
I
or
mentioned the score. I would actually love for it to get score. I don't know if it will,
I
but
love the score. The score is great.
so good. Um, we'll see how the Bear. It's again, it's hard to talk about this because the Bear, we don't know, but it seems like the Bear is
I
still the
mean,
lead.
we do know, but we don't know because
Right.
we've seen season 2,
I
but
know.
it's not season 2 only.
It's not season 2 only. That's the thing. Uh, anything else on Hacks, which I'm sure we'll talk about as the season progresses, Joyce.
Um, Not right now.
We can make it our succession, just talk about it every week.
Talk about it every. I mean, it's only a month, so I guess
Fine.
it's less annoying for people who don't like this. So it's over by the 30th.
Yeah,
So
it's fine.
mhm.
Uh, other new shows, Joyce. The Veil is out.
The Veil dropped yesterday, 2 episodes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
FX show, but Hulu exclusive.
Yes.
Lizzie Moss,
You can
back on
throw.
TV.
It's a limited series.
It's a limited series, but like it's from Stephen Knight, but like both of them have talked about how they're open to continuing. They had a panel at TCA and obviously were asked about this, and they were just like very into like continuing the show and stuff, and just kind of like open-ended but like up for it. Like I love the character and like all that type of stuff.
The typical stuff you see nowadays with the limited series.
Yeah, so basically Elisabeth Moss plays uh this British agent. Um so she has a British accent, which like really took me. I watched the show in January. Like
Yeah.
it really took me a long time to get used to her with the British accent. Um and she's tasked with uh finding this like woman, like someone associated with ISIS, and then so she uh captures her, and this is like in the premiere. Uh she's played by Yumna Marwan,
Mm-hmm.
and then but like I forget her character's name. My gosh. So Lizzie's character's name is Imogen, and then Yuma's character's name is Adila, and so she claims like she's not ISIS and she just wants to go home to her daughter in Paris. So then it's just this like road trip thing, and then it's like spy stuff with like Lizzie has this like on and off relationship with this guy Malik, who's French, like a French agent, played by Dali Bensala. And then Josh Charles is Max, this like CIA guy who comes in to try to like usurp the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they describe him as like the most American ever.
Good casting then.
So yeah, it's only 6 episodes. And it's kind of like Homeland light.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and like I would say Lizzie is better than the show.
So, not going to be putting it in then, is what I'm taking. That's my takeaway from this.
Well, I also think it's just like late, it premiered April 30th.
We know they like Hulu though.
We know they like Hulu, but there's so much shit on Hulu.
Under the
It's an
Bridge
FX
still
show, but
happening.
it's available on Hulu.
Right.
So it's like there's a
Under the
lot.
Bridge still happening.
Under the Bridge, Shogun,
Shogun.
Feud, you know. And it's just like I think it, you know, I don't know like what the I haven't read any of the reviews, but I feel like a lot of the headlines I've seen are just like kind of mixed.
Yeah.
So
Throwback show, Homeland Light, like that kind of stuff. You're right.
yeah. And I love like Lizzie doing TV, but uh I don't know if like this or once she's done with Handmaid's Tale, I hope she does find like a show of that caliber, especially in like the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
Because also like during her hiatuses, she did Shining Girls a couple
Mhm.
years ago. Remember that on
Oh, sure.
Apple? Yeah. I thought she was good in that. I watched all of that. I thought she was good in that too, but also better than the show.
Right. Not going to put her in. Another limited series, Joyce, that I'm not putting in. A Man in Full on Netflix now.
I did not finish that. I only watched the first 2 episodes.
Same, actually. I'll tell you what. Great moment for people who love Shania Twain. Just right off the bat.
Like right, like the opening minutes.
Right off the jump. If you like Shania Twain, you're in.
Yeah.
Uh, it feels like a show that would have existed 5 years ago. Did you get that vibe? Obviously based on the Tom Wolfe book, so it's not a the book is not contemporary, but like the show is, it just felt like a throwback show, I guess, to me.
Yeah, based on the book, adapted by David E. Kelly,
Yes.
and Regina King
Yes.
is a producer and a director. She did the pilot and then I think the last 2 episodes, right?
I think if not the last two in the back half. She directed 3 of the
Yeah,
episodes.
because I know Tommy Schlamme did the second.
Yes.
So I guess he did 2, 3,
I think
4.
so.
So, um, yeah, it's like it's kind of like this similar vibe of like the night agent and the diplomat, but I think those are better.
It does feel like a show that would have been on ABC.
Like 12 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff
Like
Daniels.
Tuesdays at 10.
Yeah, it's a Tuesdays at 10 Jeff Daniels show on ABC.
I mean the cast is stacked.
Loaded cast. Your boy Tom Pelphrey, who I know you love.
Doing like another unhinged performance.
Fantastic. Bill Camp just devouring the screen.
Um, all pure camp. Bill Camp, pure camp.
Jeff Daniels.
Lucy Liu,
Yes.
her character's name is Joyce. There's not a lot of Joyces in media.
So where would she rank in the terms of TV Joyces? Because where was the other Joyce we had recently?
Hacks had a Joyce, remember?
Hacks,
Martha.
Stranger Things, obviously.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I'm not really into Stranger Things, so that's low for me. But like
okay.
I know that obviously prominent character.
Yes.
I mean when I was a kid, the like first 2 times I heard Joyce in media was Kindergarten Cop
Sure.
and The Adventures of Pete and Pete. So those are like my Joyces.
Wasn't there a movie we had a Joyce in recently too? What was it?
What? I don't
I don't
know.
remember.
As a
I feel
main
like we talked
character, they're usually like minor characters though.
Joyce character. I'm Googling Joyce character names in movies and shows.
I mean, we know there's no dearth of Chris's in
No,
media. So
certainly not. This is not helping me. This
no, it's
this
not gonna.
website. Now I'm gonna get spammed from whatever this website is. James Joyce. Not right. It's not right. But
I mean, one of my friends in college used to call me Joyce DeWitt
so
because he used to
I
watch
get
Three
that reference.
Companies.
Sure.
So Three Company, or Three's Company. But yeah, he used to call me Joyce DeWitt.
Other people in the show. Uh,
William Jackson Harper,
William Jackson
Tony
Harper.
nominee William Jackson Harper.
Shantae Adams is on.
Diane Lane.
Yes.
Hmm.
Amel Amin, who is in Rustin, I believe.
Hmm. And so from the 2 episodes I've seen, it's I think it's like again, it's like your typical Netflix show, I think. It's just like well made, and it's like I think you can tell it's just like aesthetics wise, like this is a Netflix show. And then you could also tell like aesthetics wise, this is an Apple show.
I, of course, there are certain
Yeah.
like sheens they have.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the press release they sent for this because I was interested. I was actually curious like that they released it. Let me see Netflix. I was actually curious that they released it in time for this year's Emmys run because I was just like, if it's a like you're saying, it's like a night agent diplomat. It's like a fun watch, right, or whatever you want to call those. Like it's like not a, I don't want to say serious because it's like it's a drama, but you know what I mean, right? You know the vibe I'm trying to suggest. And in terms of like the show, yeah, it was just like I was surprised that they're putting it out because even I'm trying to find this, I can't find it. Regina King had like a director's statement and basically was like, we just wanted to make the most fun show, and you'll
Hmm.
really like it.
And I would say it is entertaining from what I've seen.
So I'm like wondering like why not just why do it now? Why not release it in like the summer?
Um, I don't know. What they also have uh Eric coming up, which I have seen all of. I
Yes.
did watch all of that. And that's on the 30th, right? It's like
Hmm.
literally the last day, or is it the
Hmm.
31st? But it's like the final day. They do that sometimes, Netflix. So yeah, they have like two upcoming or two May limited series starring some big names coming into a pretty competitive race in limited already, and they have their surprise hit in Baby Reindeer.
Which, oh, breaking news, Joyce, that you had.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of
So
Baby
last week,
Reindeer,
if people listened last week, we talked about the Netflix FYC site and their priorities. And like they have like tiers. So like tier one, it's like the shows have like bigger art, and then tier two, they have smaller art. So when Baby Reindeer was submitted to prime time, they added Baby Reindeer to limited, and it was in the second tier next to A Man in Full, so smaller art. And now a week later, it's in the top tier. So it's a priority. So previously, it's for Netflix's four top tier limited priorities were All the Light We Cannot See, Eric, Griselda, and Ripley. And now they have bumped Eric to tier two
wow, tough beat for Eric.
for Eric.
I found the director's statement from Regina King.
Okay.
It was in the screener letter, Joyce. I knew I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, because you have to click to open it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After years of focusing on producing weighty dramas and serious content, the chance to immerse myself in a story with a satirical edge was refreshing. David Kelly's adept handling of Tom Wolfe's narrative is what drew me to this project. While still addressing deep-rooted societal issues, we were able to craft an engaging drama with subtle comedic undertones, offering a critical lens on American culture in a sophisticated, humorous manner. Our intention for A Man in Full is twofold: to deliver a story where the audience can sit back and enjoy with a bag of popcorn, okay, maybe two bags, and to offer an opportunity for people to recognize the human qualities we all possess. So grab your favorite snack, sit back, and buckle in. We hope you enjoy taking the ride with this stellar cast led by the exceptional Jeff Daniels as much as we did. This is like a summer show to me. That screams like Presumed Innocent, the trailer. I didn't even watch it yet. Trailer just came out today from Apple. Cannot wait to watch that in June with Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Like I'm all in. Another David E. Kelly show. So maybe that's part of the reason why this is out in May. Maybe they were trying to coordinate, even though they're opposite networks. I don't know. But I just feel like this is also a summer show, I guess would be my statement.
I mean, it could also just be a contractual thing. It's like we got to get this out in time
Maybe,
for this
maybe.
cycle. So
Definitely enjoy, like you said, definitely an enjoyable watch, but I'm not putting in my predictions, despite Jeff Daniels as the lead.
I think he's doing a voice.
He's doing a voice.
Yeah.
I wanted to. He looks like Trump, but it's not a Trump voice. Obviously, it's like
No.
he's like
It's a
Foghorn Leghorn.
Southern Atlanta
Yeah,
voice,
yeah,
but it's a lot. So,
it is. Just we go to emails because we have a lot of emails to get to. Anything else on these other shows?
um,
We do.
no, not really. You can watch all three of them this weekend.
Tell us what you think of Manifold.
Are you gonna finish it?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I just have so much. It's the problem is
I know I have to watch other stuff first.
to pull the curtain back, we have to prioritize things we're doing interviews for or like talking to people. So like that has to move to the top of the stack. So if I'm not assigned a show to
You're
actually,
not talking to Jeff Daniels,
I'm
man.
not talking to Jeff Daniels, so I don't have to watch it yet. So I'm like, I will watch it, but it
No.
has to take a back seat to some other things I have to watch first.
The thing is, it's like, I mean, obviously this is like first world problem, but if they like have stuff ready earlier and like send them earlier, like I will watch it earlier, you
Do
know.
you feel like this year more than any in terms this is again totally relatable to zero people who watching this? Do you feel like do you feel like this year more than ever the stuff is like they're racing to finish for whatever reason, whether it's because of like the strike backlog or whatever. I feel like a lot of shows are like sending out screeners, they're not complete and like
You
really
know,
kind
I
of
love an incomplete screener,
and
so I'd
really
rather have
rushing to
that
finish them.
early
Right.
so I can watch it earlier
Right.
than
Yeah,
have a backlog at the end.
I feel like this year there's more incomplete ones than usual.
I mean, give them to me. I don't care. Like the earlier the better, the more incomplete the better.
Uh
So yeah, but I don't know.
All right. Emails at slugfest@goldderby.com. Send us your emails about all this stuff, including our screener conversation. So I'm sure you got thoughts. This one's from James Joyce about a topic we have not discussed at all. Animated shows this Emmy season. That's the
Okay.
subject. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Do you have any thoughts on animated series for this Emmy season? It has been a big season for animated shows outside of the usual nominees like The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, and Rick and Morty. For Amazon, there was season 2 of Invincible and Has Been Hotel. Netflix had Blue Eye Samurai, and Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Max had Scavenger's Reign and season 4 of Harley Quinn, and Disney Plus had X-Men 97 and season 2 of What If. Have you seen any of these shows? And what do you think the eventual nominees will look like? Will the usual nominees stay in, or will some amount of great stuff push out all of them or some of them? Blue Eye Samurai feels like the front runner. It swept every category it was nominated for at the Annie Awards and feels very much like another Arcane. If you had a chance to check out any of these series that you haven't, Blue Eye Samurai would be my top recommendation. That's from James.
The only one I've seen is X-Men 97 because I love the OG, obviously.
Sure.
So I've only seen 2 episodes of that, but that's the only one I've seen.
My sense on this, as someone who's not seen none, 0. I've heard the same about Blue Eye Samurai. I know
Yes,
people. I
same.
know actually real people who watched it and said it's great. And X-Men 97 has dominated my social media feeds for weeks. So I feel like those 2 shows have a great chance of getting in just on that we might take. And then the others that are usuals.
Like The Simpsons.
Yes. Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Simpsons won last year, and Arcane, which I did see, won 2 years ago.
Right.
So if it is like a case of this year where there's no like breakout hit, um, then I could see them going back to something old. But if it is if either of like the newer shows are embraced, then they can be an Arcane.
I got another one on X-Men 97, if you could believe this.
Oh my
Since you
God.
watched 2 episodes, I'll read it. This is from Shar, who's a longtime listener. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Hi, it's your favorite NSYNC fan here. Justice for Better Place, LOL. Let me take you to a better place.
Are you gonna see Justin on tour?
No, but I've seen that
No.
Trolls movie a lot. It's pretty good, actually.
I've only seen the tour one.
The World Tour is the most recent one with NSYNC.
No,
Oh, the second one is
the
Trolls
second
World
one.
Tour.
Wait, what is that
This one
called?
is Trolls Band Together.
Okay, yeah,
Band Together
The
is
one's
with
a tour, yeah.
the band together. Trolls Band Together is the third one, and it is.
I saw the second one.
The second one is World Tour with Rachel Bloom as a rock queen.
Did you like that one because it's about touring, or is it okay because it's a movie?
I thought it was good. I'm a fan of the Trolls movies. I've been Trolls pilled. Back to Char's email. I wanted to know your thoughts on X-Men 97. Not only do I adore early 2000s teen pop, but I also love Marvel and the MCU. I watch the original X-Men every Saturday morning on Fox Kids. It's what got me into Marvel.
Same.
This is why I'm reading this. This new continuation of the original series is nothing short of a masterpiece. Episode 5 had comparisons to the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. It keeps getting better every episode. I find it vastly superior to What If. My only hiccup is that there is so little Wolverine in the series so far, which is ironic since the character is basically the co-lead of the new Deadpool movie later this year. Do you think it has a chance at the best animated feature or best animated program, at this year's Emmys? They should definitely submit Remember It, episode 5. Also off topic. Joyce, I know you preferred Backstreet Boys. I forgive you. But have you listened to the new NSYNC song Paradise? And what are your thoughts? I think it is a lovely tribute to us fans, and I'm so glad I didn't have to wait another 22 years for new music. Love you guys so much. That's from Shar.
I have listened to it because it's been played on Z100. So,
Okay.
but so Z100 recently has also been playing a lot of like throwback songs.
Okay.
So in the past couple weeks, they've also played "I Want You Back" and
Classic.
"Tearing Up My Heart."
Mm.
Um, and I've heard "Without Me" over the weekend. Like if they're gonna play Eminem, like all in. They also did "Lose Yourself" last week, and they did "Genie in a Bottle" a couple weeks
Wow.
ago. It
Do you
was
want to try
crazy.
and compete with Sirius?
I
Maybe.
know.
Sirius
I'm
XM?
like, it's like this is just like my Spotify playlists, like my 90s and like 2000s playlists.
I texted you on Friday because I was at the Mets game and they play
Yeah.
Lose Yourself when they come out to the field now.
The bottom of the first, yeah.
It's great.
Um, yeah. What would your walkout song be?
Great question.
Pearl Jam.
Maybe Mo Money with Problems. I still love that. I love that. That's a banger beat.
Hmm.
Canceled now, obviously, a million ways from
It's
Sunday, but
still a bop.
it's still a
I
bop.
would I would probably do "Till I Collapse."
Okay,
Eminem.
good
Yeah.
one.
Hmm. But anyway,
So anyway, X-Men
X-Men.
97,
I
Joyce.
mean, I haven't seen that episode, but I think that was the one where it was like it aired like last month, right? It's the fifth
I
episode. I
think
remember
so.
seeing a lot of tweets about like
I,
one episode.
I guess my big question would be the show has obviously been a hit and certainly is a hit amongst like people who watch the original, like yourself and Shar. But do you think that is enough to break it through to Emmy voters as like a new series?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like there presumably there are people of like our age in the academy who
Yeah.
might also have that same nostalgia
Hmm.
for the original series
Yeah.
and are watching this. I think like this show has more of a hook than maybe a newer show, that's not a continuation. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I remember this, and then you hear good word of mouth for it too.
Hmm. I
So
think the word of mouth will help it a lot.
yeah. So yeah,
One.
hopefully it gets in. I mean, I like the two
Yeah.
I saw.
This one is from Tim, frequent. He's emailed us before at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Over the last 2 years, we have seen some of the supporting categories dominated by only two shows. Do you think that is a possibility again this year? I think drama supporting actress is where this is most likely to happen, as you could have multiple contenders from The Crown and The Morning Show, two shows that the acting branch have nominated heavily in the past. Also, none of the other shows have been recognized before by actors other than a Gilded Age SAG Ensemble nomination, which might increase the chances of just these two shows being nominated in the same category or in this category. Also, Chris, as a big Winning Time fan, are you looking forward to Clipped? I know it won't be eligible this year, but I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Kind regards. That's from Tim.
Are you?
So, not totally. I watched the trailer. I thought it looked okay. This is a hilarious reference, but back in 2020, Joyce, you might remember
Sure.
there was a popular streamer called Quibi.
I remember Quibi.
And on Quibi, they did a documentary called Blackballed,
Hmm.
which was about this same subject, the Donald Sterling racist recording and the Clippers kind of like coming together as a team. And I got to say, I actually did a feature on this. I was just looking it up. It was great. It was so good. It was like a great comp to The Last Dance. Not as good as The Last Dance because it's a Quibi. So it was like very short episodes and like combined, I mean, probably less than an hour, right? Or whatever it was. But it was a really interesting documentary, I thought, and told this story really well. And so I'm not as interested in that as I was in Winning Time. I like the Winning Time approach because I felt like it was like the way it was going across seasons and like kind of taking a big like 30,000-foot view of this team was interesting. That said, the trailer looked fun enough. I'll probably watch it certainly as it's an interest to me. But I think if you were, I don't know where you could even watch this Blackball documentary. I wonder if it
It's
exists
gone.
outside of
It's like
Quibi. I'm gonna
nuked.
Google see can you because like a lot of stuff ended up on Roku TV.
Mhm.
But anyway, that was that.
So no, you're not interested.
It is on Roku channel. You can watch it right now on Roku channel for free.
Mm.
I'm interested, but I just did say watch this other
Watch
documentary.
this first.
Yeah, because I think it tells the same story in an interesting fashion. Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like similar to Winning Time at all, except it's just about basketball.
Yeah, the trailer made it feel like it wants to be more like People versus OJ. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, so they paneled at TCA, which is also funny because it's like I mean I understand it, but it's like also ineligible this cycle.
Yeah.
But also still a new show in 2024, and like a lot of like their like talking points were about Jackie Weaver, who plays Shelley Sterling,
Yes.
and how they wanted to kind of elevate her character in the story. So yeah. I haven't watched any of it, so
I haven't watched any of it either. I mean,
yeah.
I'll probably check it out at least one.
I mean, we have a
What
month.
about the supporting actor categories?
Um, I don't know. What do you have? Do you just have Morning Show and Crown in
Let me look.
supporting actress? I I have one, two. I have two Crowns, two Gilded Ages, three morning shows, and one Slow Horse in
I
supporting
have the
actress.
exact same. I
Wow,
have the
look at
same.
that.
So I have Elizabeth Debicki and Leslie Manville for The Crown. I don't feel like
Mhm.
anybody else from The Crown will show up.
Probably not. I don't know.
Who else would be there? Olivia Williams.
Yeah, I get she's like next in line, I guess.
And then I have Christine Baranski and Cynthia Nixon for Gilded Age. To be fair, I'm not actually sure Cynthia Nixon will get in.
Me either. I need a body.
And then for the morning show, I have Greta Lee, Nicole Bahari, and Holland Taylor.
I have Holland, Karen Pittman, and Greta.
Interesting. And then I have Kristen Scott Thomas for Slow Horses.
Yes.
So I think it could
I
be
the only
dominated.
person I'm confident in is Elizabeth. And I
Yeah.
think Leslie will get in,
I
but
mean, I feel like I'm pretty confident in some of these because I just don't know what else will get in. Like Greta Lee, I'm confident. I don't think she would obviously win, but I think she'll get in.
there's a lot of permutations with the morning show ladies. Morning show has also never been nominated in this category. And they've had eligible supporting actresses, obviously. So remember season one, like they were pushing Gugu really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have gotten in. She was great in season one.
Yeah.
Different show.
Yeah. I mean, they also have a Juliana Margulies here. So
Mm. Yeah. Not going to put her in, I don't think.
no. Um, yeah, I don't think it'll be dominated by just two shows in this one.
Maybe three.
Yeah, maybe three.
uh, this one was for All Pal Riley Joyce. A pretty long one. Not that long, but long enough. Dear Joyce and Chris, hope you're both doing well. I am enjoying your Emmy coverage as usual. The Emmys were what got me into awards races in the first place, so very happy that this year's season is in full swing. My question is about Fallout. I just finished the season last night, and while it certainly has its flaws, overall, I loved it, and I'm excited for season 2. I know you're both predicting in drama series and lead actor for Walton Goggins, but how would you rank its above-the-line chances for a nomination in each category from most to least likely? I'm expecting you rank supporting actor near the bottom, which I'd agree with, but I'd also love to see Aaron Moten and especially Moises Arias get in as surprise nominees. My next question is primarily for Joyce.
Oh God.
No, it's not tennis related, sorry. You were an early doubter of Fargo Season 5's Emmy chances, so much so that you convinced Chris to all but drop it from his
And
prediction
I never dropped it myself.
and enter his Ripley sweep arc. To be fair, I don't have Ripley sweeping, but point taken. Despite this, you still haven't dropped Fargo from your limited series lineup and have even added Juno Temple again. I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you're still predicting it, as while I don't think it will win anything this year, Fargo is one of my favorite shows, and I feel cautiously optimistic about its nominations haul. Sorry for the lengthy questions, but I'd love to hear your responses. Thanks. That's from Riley.
Okay, should we do Fallout first?
Yeah. I The funny thing about Fallout is I think that's the vibe in terms of how people felt about it. Because I
Yeah.
don't think the first half of the season is nearly as good as the second half. And I've now known 2 people who quit after like half the season, like people who watched and didn't finish it. But
Um,
if you watch it through, I think you're excited for the payoff and very excited for season 2.
yeah, I mean my friends just started watching it last week. So and like they don't hate it. They don't play the game.
Nobody I know plays the game.
Yeah, and I don't know anyone who plays the game. So
I'm friends with mostly grown-ups.
you have friends as a grown up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some, like one.
Yeah,
But
same.
the show I think is a little slow in the beginning. Very slow.
I think the pilot is really slow.
We got to get like a pilot boot camp for some of these shows. Between that and Shogun, I was just like, oh my
Like
God,
easily the worst episodes of their seasons.
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So in terms of ranking it, I think I would say my
I mean,
most confident.
I've always had it in series. So
I'm
I
most
think,
confident in series.
and yeah, is it even in the top 8 yet? I don't think
Let me
so.
see. I haven't looked. I'm gonna look
I
now.
don't think it, I think it's still in 9.
I'm most confident in its series just because I think it's very enjoyable, and then also a lot of the craft stuff will help propel it.
Yeah, and I think it could get directing.
It's still in ninth place. That's shocking. Update your picks, folks.
Is it really?
I definitely don't get in for series. I think next would be Walton, though, like we had said, I'm not incredibly confident in his getting in. I do think he will get in, but
I think I would do directing before acting. So I
sure.
think I would do like directing and then Walton.
And then in terms of the actors, him at the top for sure.
And then I would do Ella.
So
Okay.
looking at the categories, I actually might put Aaron in above Ella. I think that as supporting actor, it's easier for me to imagine
Supporting has more room.
that's why I think
Yeah.
I would put him ahead of Ella. Because I think actress is while also room, like it feels like there's more like she's I think in 10th, but you have the
Well,
top
it's
six.
there's fewer slots.
So there's fewer slots and there's more competition. I just think there's more competition because you have the top six are Jennifer Aniston, Imelda Staunton, Emma Stone, Carrie Coon, Reese Witherspoon, and Maya Erskine. And then Juliette Binoche, Carrie Preston, and Rosario Dawson. And I'm like, I think and then Ella Purnell. And I think I would put all three of those legitimately ahead of her anyway. So I think if there was an upset, it would be like Carrie Preston getting in, or maybe Juliette Binoche for a show that not a lot of people are talking about or watching.
And I mean, like Fallout is a hit, you
Yes.
know. Can Ella just be like Jenna Ortega?
Would Ella have a better shot if she was a supporting actress contender?
Um,
And I can make that case.
Maybe.
I don't even think it's that much
I don't
fraud.
know.
I don't even think
I
it would
mean,
be
I could
fraud.
see her missing both. So
I could see her missing both, but I don't even think it would be fraud if she was supporting. That said, like for supporting act, well, it's like I think they're all very like let's just say the baseline. Everybody's great, right? Everybody gets a trophy, but I would say in terms of performances, I would rank Ella ahead of Aaron. But I do think there's just more room to me to imagine Aaron getting in. Like right now, I have Benny Safdie in, but if you like you said, like Fallout has been a huge hit. Like, would it be surprising if like he got in over Benny Safdie? No,
no, but again, like I've said with Fallout, I could just see it not getting any acting nominations too, you know?
right?
Like
Yeah,
it gets series and like writing, directing, and like crafts and no acting too. It could just be one of those shows that the actors are late on.
right. How about
Um,
the Fargo question?
the Fargo question, well, I mean, I never dropped it, so it's
Yeah,
not
but
like I
why
went back
haven't
to it.
so why have you gone back
Well, the
and
thing is, it's like I feel like my quote doubts about Fargo have been grossly overstated. Like I merely floated the idea that it could be snubbed, and I would not be shocked, even though if it were to happen on July 17th, it would be treated like a massive snub.
right?
It was just more because I feel like while the franchise really is like a reliable nominee, a consistent nominee, except for season 4, obviously. Um, and it won a mini series 10 years ago in the absence of True Detective. Like it's not like beloved, right? Like, it also had the misfortune of coming up against OJ for season 2, but it's like that was a great season for Fargo, but it just like could not overcome this other big show.
Right.
So it feels like it's just like a bridesmaid a lot, and it's won some awards. Like I think I've said this before, it kind of feels like a more successful Better Call Saul to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it could pull the nominations, and unlike Better Call Saul, it could actually win some
Right.
categories. And so it was more that like back then when we were still awaiting releases of new shows and the reception of said shows, if those shows were to be huge hits and really successful, then I could see them pushing out an older show that is, was not like is not like super passion backed, right? Like I think everyone agrees season 5 is a return to form.
Great. So good.
Yeah. So I think it's like deserving of a comeback in like the major categories. And but it's also like, I mean, granted it was like going against Beef, so it wasn't gonna win anything over the winter, but it was like is it like was anyone like really, really like passionate about it like over the winter? It's like when it lost something, you know? Like
I
there was like no outrage.
I
Like, it
dropped
was
it
like
for Baby
losing.
Reindeer, and I felt good about that because I was like, I
I mean,
think Baby
I
Reindeer.
feel like you should explain yourself more because you were so swayed by what I said, and I didn't even drop it myself. So
So here's a problem. Limited series is incredibly competitive, like we talked about. And I think now we've seen shows that have like popped and certain ones that have not. So like Shogun, I think is gonna win, just straight up. So I have that in first. And Baby Reindeer came in late and I feel it's like is a strong that is popped, right? That is like a notable thing. And the other three shows I have are Lessons in Chemistry and True Detective, which feel like the holdover winter shows that were more well received than Fargo. And then I have Ripley in because I do believe it was also well received, even though obviously we found many people who are not super into it. I saw just as many people who seemingly were. And so I think Fargo would miss out probably because of, in terms of the winter shows, I would put it third behind Lessons in Chemistry and True Detective, even though I think it's better than those two quality wise.
I mean, I never put Ripley in because I was
Right.
awaiting like the public response to it, and it's not bad. I think it's like fine. It's kind of mixed. It's also like it has like decent reviews, but it's not like raved like,
Right.
like Shogun is, or Baby Reindeer. And I kind of feel like Baby Reindeer has also just stolen all of its thunder. Like it's a massive hit and its views are just its fake views, whatever, however they calculate it, is just going up every week. I mean, it took Ripley like forever to just crack the top 3 in like the front facing Netflix top 10 and it like quickly fell off. So I feel like it's just kind of stolen, or Reindeer has just stolen all of its buzz. And it's like, if you're gonna, if someone asked you like only one Netflix show gets in, like you're gonna say Baby Reindeer, and I
Sure.
don't, and I think, Fargo has performed decently over the winter. It got its first SAG nomination for John Hamm since season 1 for Billy Bob Thornton. And like SAG does not like Fargo. So it's like that. It's like even though like Juno miss, it's like it seems like they like it enough and it's like it's not gonna win series. And like I don't even know what kind of combo of acting nominations it might get, but it feels like if it has been like acknowledged as like a good season.
I
um,
I do
so I think
wonder.
it could like, and I don't think the response is as mixed about it as it is about Ripley.
So here's what I was thinking. I actually think it could get in. I think Ripley would get in for series because I do think, and I think Fargo could get in its acting nominations, but not for series. I don't know. I'm just gonna go down with that because I still have Fargo getting in like 4 acting nominations.
I don't even know who I have. Like, well, I dropped John to
I have
get.
John actually in still.
I don't know. I mean, like, I was debating dropping him or Tom Hollander, and I just ended up with him. So that was the reason I put Juno back in because I was like, do I need to have like another Fargo actor? So I dropped him.
I kept I kept John. I kept Juno, and I have Sam Spruill and Joe Keery.
I dropped JJL, and I still have Joe. So I don't know.
I too dropped JJL. Uh, Next email. This one is from Matthew. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Nicole Kidman got her AFI Lifetime Achievement Award last weekend, and it got me thinking about her career as a whole. I wanted to ask what your 3 favorite Nicole Kidman performances are across film and TV. Alongside this, she has been doing a lot of press for expats. Amazon had a big event the day after AFI with Nicole, Lulu Wang, and the Nicole cast, and it seems like there's a lot of industry goodwill towards Nicole right now. Could the show surprise in any places above the line? And what are your thoughts on the show itself? I think it's one of the best of the Emmy cycle, and I don't understand why critics are split on it. What do you think?
Do you want to name her favorite? performances.
I'm Googling her now to get the full scope, but I would say To Die For would be one on my
Yeah, I
list.
would have to die for Big Little
Big
Lies, and
Little Lies would also be on my list.
I don't know what my third would be because she has so many.
I'm looking here. Let's see.
Like you could do Birth, or like I like Moulin Rouge, but I wouldn't say I love it.
Yeah, I agree. The Prom. No,
Being the Ricardos.
she was great in being her. Uh, actually, well, she's good in so much. Like Eyes Wide Shut,
Hmm.
obviously. The others. What about The Undoing? I thought she was great on that. I just like that show.
Great coats.
Australia. It's funny because she's rarely ever really bad.
Yeah, she's never bad.
Killing of a
Um,
Sacred Deer. The Hours, obviously.
the Paperboy.
Just running through her performances now.
Um,
Um, yeah.
I don't know what my third would be. It's Batman Forever.
I'll take Eyes Wide Shut, I guess.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Bewitched. Um, hmm. Uh, I would do Birth, I guess. I haven't watched that in a while.
And then in terms of the show, Joyce, I gotta say, I just started watching it. And
And do you
good.
enjoy it?
I'm into it. It's fine. It is I think it's definitely an Amazon priority, I would say. It seems like it's
Yes, yes.
one of their many priorities.
I think I think we already knew that. I don't think that's breaking news.
I I do think so. Here's the thing. I think it's possible she could get in for limited series actress because while there are a lot of contenders there, I do think there's open slots more so than we maybe thought. Like, I think you dropped Kate Winslet, right?
Hmm.
I think I have her in last, and I've toyed with floating back in Naomi Watts. But again, I'm like, no one's really talking about feud, so it feels like. And you've also talked about how like Juno is maybe vulnerable. Like I know you have her in again, but like it feels like Nicole could get in for this certainly. Well, I don't think it'd get in for series. I could see it getting in for like Nicole and maybe directing. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So
Um, it kind of reminds me of Dead Ringers
yeah,
last year. Like this like great lead actress performance by an Oscar winner. Um, and it's like prestige and uh but it just like didn't land, you know. So I can see it going that way with it.
not.
Uh
What if it's like Swarm?
I never doubted Swarm. Like I always had Dominique
Yeah,
in
yeah,
because that was like uh Embrace, like first weekend, and then she also had a lot of famous people support.
yeah,
So I always had her in.
yeah.
Um Rachel, I was like back and forth on.
I think I had her in and she missed. So there you go.
I don't even remember if I had her in or not, but I was definitely back and forth on her. I mean, I guess you could say the difference is like Dead Ringers premiered in April last year, whereas X-Pass premiered in January.
Yes, it's
You know,
been
so it's
around,
early.
and the showcase episode that Nicole's not even in premiered at TIFF.
Yeah. So I yeah, I would say it's probably like top 10 in like a lot of the categories,
I
you
like I
know.
said, I don't think it's an outs. I think if they're able to generate enough like renewed passion for Nicole, I mean, I actually think like Kate is very vulnerable, right? I just think like and
I mean, you could argue that like the show is better received than The Regime.
and
So
so like I think Nicole could
it
probably
should
get
give her the
in.
edge.
I think she can get in, but it depends, like because like you said, it's a very busy category, and will there
Yeah,
be a
and
lot of
when it
passion?
aired, it was like pretty quiet,
Yeah,
not a lot of chatter about it, like general public,
yeah,
chatter about it. Like I don't think any of my friends even have heard of it.
no, Joyce,
But they are campaigning it, so
they are, so that can help. You know, I love a campaign.
you know.
Joyce, a big day here. Got an email here from David L. The return of David
Wow,
L.
it's been a while.
Hi, Joyce and Chris. David L. again. Sorry, it's been a while since I emailed you. I've been pretty busy organizing my place, catching up with work, and getting my car engine repaired so I can renew my license plate. But I'm always gleaming with joy when other emailers
Maybe TMI.
when other emailers have mentioned my name when I keep watching the show. So glad my status as a regular listener and emailer has struck a chord. Woo! I've got a couple of Emmy questions. You know the drill, Chris. You can answer one at a time if you like. My first question is because All the Light We Cannot See did very well and overperformed the nominations at all the guilds, including making the top 5 at PGA and DGA and winning the Sound Guild Awards. Do you think it could still do very well at getting many Emmy nominations, like directing for Sean Levy and the Below the Line Crafts? Could it push and the Below the Line in Crafts could push it into getting the 5th spot in the top 5 in a limited series race, despite it being very crowded this year? It was definitely one of my favorite miniseries last year that I watched twice. I know you both didn't seem to like it that much, but what moved me about it was the beautiful score by James Newton Howard that kept listening to in the car a lot, and the profound performances from Aria Mia Loberti, who can make history as the first blind actor to be nominated for a major industry award, Lewis Hoffman, and Hugh Laurie. Mark Ruffalo was the only weak link of the show and was really miscast because his British accent was so bad. He should probably fire his dialogue coach. This is David L., not me. I'm just reading. My second question, I'm so glad the show's backlash from critics didn't hurt the industry's love for it. It wasn't as bad as they said, kind of like Naiad. I guess sometimes they just can't appreciate certain media. Even Peter Travers didn't like the Pulitzer Prize winning book the show was based on, so it feels like they were just gearing up to hate it. Do you think the critics are sometimes too harsh on certain fun shows, like with The Morning Show, White House Plumbers, The Regime, or Manhunt, like you guys sometimes are with some of the old Oscar movies you dunk on in your playback series? Tell me your thoughts. It's from David L.
Well, the show is still one of Netflix's priorities.
Hmm.
It was not bumped for Baby Reindeer. That was Eric.
No. See,
So
Eric.
I think we talked about this last year at some point. Netflix has always been very high on this show. Like they were sending out emails and screeners like last March for
Yes.
this, and it
Yeah.
was premiering in August.
Yes.
So yeah, and like the critical reception was poor when it launched. It still hit some guilds, but I think that might also be just because like the competition level was lower.
So it is a show that I think, again, if it showed up in the nominees in the limited series
Like no
race,
one would be surprised. Like it already has the winter footprint with the
it
guilds.
has a winter footprint, has a Netflix footprint.
Mhm.
So while I think the reviews, I don't think matter in that case. If people are enough to like it, enough to vote for it, I don't think the reviews matter. In terms of critics mattering, I don't think they matter usually, and they definitely don't like fun stuff. But I think we like fun stuff. I don't like the
Yeah,
version that I
we
don't.
love we I love unserious stuff.
I'd much rather watch fun stuff. This weekend we watched Anyone But You, Joyce.
Oh, finally.
Fucking fantastic.
It's great.
4 stars.
Yeah.
I was like, outside of Oppenheimer, I've liked it better than almost every Best Picture winner in the last decade. So there you go.
I think like my issue is like a lot of shows, and there's a lot of shows this cycle too, that are very unserious. But I think a lot of people, not just critics, but like fans and viewers too, don't like find them as unserious as I do, or like or like they think it's like a lot better than it is.
Yes.
And obviously, opinion is subjective,
Hmm.
but it's like I I there's just some things I'm like, this is like not as great as like you make it sound to be.
Yes.
I was actually, I mean, I won't say the show, but I was talking about a scene in a very recent show with someone yesterday,
Okay.
and this person just watched the episode, and this uh episode has been, and the scene itself has been very well received by fans, and they were just like, LOL, that like was so funny. Like, why are people like treating this as like, highbrow, like, super serious, like prestige stuff? And like the show is kind of like viewed as prestige, but I'm like, I think like it makes people feel better if like they talk about something as if it's like capital S serious, because if it's like less than, like they feel like they're dumb when there's like so much good like middle ground stuff
Hmm.
too, you know?
Yes.
And it's like So, but yeah, I'd say like we like a lot of fun stuff. So
We do. A few more emails, Joyce, and we'll wrap it up. These I save for the end because they're just fantastic. Not to put too much pressure on these emails. Email us slugfest@goldderby.com. This one is from Channing. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I can't wait for The Instigators, a Boston set heist flick starring an Affleck. What more could you ask for? But I feel like Apple is the absolute worst place for this movie. It feels like it belongs on Amazon, like Air. How much is it being on Apple TV going to ultimately hurt it? Joyce, this is the greatest movie. We already know this is our favorite movie of the
this
year.
is the best picture.
The Instigators, Matt Damon,
Yeah.
Casey Affleck.
Wow. Rude to Casey.
Casey Affleck and Matt Damon in a heist movie that they compared to Midnight Run, directed by Doug Liman, coming to
Oh,
Apple TV,
co-written by Casey.
coming to Apple TV Plus on August 9th, I believe.
Yeah, it'll have a 1 week theatrical the week before. We talked about this offline too. And about like how it doesn't feel like an Apple movie, and it does deserve the air treatment when they went like full out last year of like theatrical and everything.
It
And,
also coming out August, it just feels like you're telling me it's not worth my time. I have a hard time believing that.
I mean, I don't mind that it's coming out in August because it's just like, like fun heist movie. It's fine, like summer film. Um, but it's y- yeah, I can kind of see it like getting lost.
So yes, I mean, what else is even coming out that month? This is a tough summer because of the strike and stuff, and there's not a lot of movies. But it does feel like it should be like in the theater.
Yeah.
This is
So
this year is a tough one because like there's a lot of movies that actually should be in theaters that would do really well in theaters and are not going to theaters. This one, Hitman being two obvious examples.
yeah,
August releases, Joyce. I just Googled. August 9th, Borderlands. It's the
sure.
Eli Roth
Yes.
video game movie. The M. Night Shyamalan movie Trap, which looks awesome.
The Josh Hartnett return
Hartnessance,
doesn't really roll off your tongue.
Joshessance.
Hmm,
It Ends with Us, which is this romance with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni that I'm supposed to think is going to be this big thing.
sure.
The next week, Horizon and American Saga Chapter 2
Yeah, because chapter 1 is in June.
and Alien Romulus. And then The Crow on August 23rd and Blink Twice, which looks fun. So, like,
Zoe Kravitz.
Blink Twice is getting the air treatment because it's an Amazon MGM movie that will release in theaters and then presumably
Directed
eventually.
by an actor.
And this one, not as much. I'll tell you what, I'll be watching the hell out of Instigators.
It's gonna be fantastic. I mean, this is like totally my shit. Crime films set in Boston with an Affleck and or Matt Damon. Like, sign me up.
So, we talked about this offline too. What are the odds that Ben Affleck is in this movie?
Well, this should just be a sequel to The Town because the mid-credit scene should just be them escaping to Florida. Come visit me in Florida.
Town Cinematic Universe.
Yes. This is what
Can't
we
wait.
deserve.
Cannot
What do
wait.
you think about the names? Because my friend and I were talking about this. Like, so Matt Damon plays Rory, and he doesn't really look like a Rory.
Okay.
And Casey plays Cobby, which is a great name. It's like Gem in The Town. And I'm also like, Jeremy Renner should be in this.
What if he is?
In the credits. He
Casey
lives.
looks like a Rory, and Matt could be a Cobby.
Yes.
But maybe they're playing against type because of the Midnight Run vibe. I think you would be like Damon is going to be De Niro and Casey would be Charles Grodin. But what if they flipped? And what if Casey is De Niro and Damon is Charles Grodin?
Listen, I need the trailer right now.
Cannot wait. So good.
I also need the wardrobe because like that the image they released with like the jacket and the hoodie. I'm like, I want this
I
right
had
now.
an I had an adjacent Boston question for you, Joyce. What was your take on the Dunkin' Donut sandwich in Challengers?
Okay, well, so in the screenplay for
Yes.
Challengers, that uh it was not written like that. It was written as like Patrick is kicked out of the parking lot and then he goes to the McDonald's drive-through and
Mhm.
orders off the dollar menu. So they
Mhm.
changed it in the movie, and he's going to the sign-in and then gets half of a Dunkin'
Duncan
breakfast
Sheets.
sandwich, which is like the cleanest, neatest breakfast sandwich I've ever seen in my entire life.
Complete. The most
Thank
phony thing in a fantastic movie is the way that
Yes.
sandwich looks. It looks incredible, though.
Yeah.
It's the greatest looking breakfast sandwich I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think they shot Boston for New Rochelle, so I'm assuming that's why they went with
Yeah, they
Duncan.
filmed in Boston.
So I'm assuming that's why they went with Duncan because it was the nearest by. I was like, oh man, this is great. Uh, this email is from Parker Joyce. I recently heard, hi Joyce and Chris. I recently heard someone call hacks boring, which is objectively wrong. This isn't a question. I just don't know how you can watch one of the best and funniest comedies in years and come away with that opinion. It's from Parker.
I
Joyce,
think
I've
that's
too
you,
have heard
Parker.
this.
You too. What happened?
I was like, that's just a bad take. One
I
of my
mean, it's
friends was
wrong.
like,
It's wrong.
one of my friends said this exact same thing as well. So Parker, this is a prevailing sentiment, but I do worry that sometimes people are like taking it for granted because it's been off the air for 2 years.
But why did they think it was boring?
Just because it's not new, I guess. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's old hat. But would you say that about Succession?
No, but it's like, but that was like literally the reason because it's
Yeah.
not a new show. What?
Yeah, or just because I've already seen it, you know what I mean? Like I get it. Like that kind of thing. Like I get it. Hacks,
So
great.
is this a thing of like because they haven't seen the new season yet?
Yeah, probably.
But
Third
how
season's
could you
great.
even say like the first two seasons were
Choice
boring?
people say stupid stuff all the time.
That's why they're bad and wrong.
This one is from Jordan. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I never really considered this before, but after the Oscars and the Fall Guy press tour, I must ask, is Ryan Gosling the greatest showman of our time? And has he always been this guy and I've kind of missed it, or is he just now really letting us see it? And then, second question, what are the odds that Ryan Gosling walks away with the comedy guest actor Emmy this year?
Um, I feel like he's really embraced since his like comeback, quote unquote, I guess, with Ken. I think he's like really embraced that and just kind of like trolling everyone too on his press tours.
He showed up
And
at we're doing this on Wednesday. On Tuesday night, he had the Fall Guy premiere. He showed
yeah,
up and then went back and changed into his Beavis and
yeah,
Butthead costume with
with
Mikey
Mikey
Day.
Day. Yeah. He did a
Emmy
quick change.
promo, Emmy promo while at the premiere of Fall Guy.
Yeah, it was kind of like Zendaya doing the quick change when she was in that like robot costume at the Dune premiere. And um yeah, I feel like he's really kind of leaned into that more since Barbie. And I saw the Fall Guy on Monday.
Oh, I didn't see it
And
yet.
great film. You
Can't
should
wait.
you should watch it.
I'm sure I will. I'm definitely gonna see it.
Yeah, you should watch it. And it's hilarious. He's great. A lot of just fun, it's a excuse me. It's a love letter to stuntmen as, that's their talking
Is
point.
is the stuntman the heart and soul of the film, Joyce?
Um not like a corporal being, but just like, vibes, you
The
know.
stunts are the heart and soul of the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of just like references to like films in general and like a lot of quotes, like movie quotes. It's a lot of fun. It's a
Can't wait.
great movie to read. I love to read
Love a
shows
reading
and
movie.
movies because Aaron Taylor Johnson is the actor that he's the stunt double for.
Yeah,
So you see a lot of fake media, also one of my faves, like
love
his
that.
like fake movies. And Aaron's character uses post-its a lot. So his apartment is just, I think there's like photos of it, but like covered in posters. So then I can't wait until this is released on physical medium and I can get it and I can pause every single frame in the apartment so I can read all the
Love
post-its.
that.
I won't spoil any of them, but
Thanks.
they're great.
I'll see it. I'll see it soon.
Yeah. So I think like, I mean, I hope the movie does well. So
Supposed to maybe do well.
yeah, and so I think like it could like, maybe you could argue like between that and then like his SNL episode was also well received.
I mean, I definitely we've been off SNL, but I definitely think he'll get nominated. I do think he'll get nominated for an Emmy for this.
It was a very well received episode. It was like the highest rated episode
Mhm.
too, like most watched or
And
whatever.
kind of in the halo of the Barbie Oscar performance, which you can't get he can't get nominated for that, but I feel like
Well, yeah,
everyone
and
saw it.
like they did it Barbenheimer
Yes.
um in the episode they sang. And yeah, like the only viral sketch this season, Beavis and Butthead.
And they brought it back to the red carpet. That's great. I mean, I was like, this is good.
Yeah.
Good for
I mean,
him.
like, I guess you could say, like, if there's, like, a lot of bears, that they could split the vote.
I don't think he'll win, but
Yeah, I don't know. And, like, they're also kinda the Emmys are kind of off on SNL too.
yeah,
Like, it could still get guest
I think he'll
nominations.
get in, but I don't think he'll win. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, this email from Sarah Ann. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the show. Over the weekend, I was aghast to learn the only show my friend has watched recently is Feud. She didn't like it that much and thought the finale sucked. How many voters are finishing shows they don't even like? And who actually liked Feud? My 7-year-old father didn't even like it, and he thought it was 4 episodes too long. That's from Sarah
this seems to
Ann.
be a very common criticism
There was a great
that
article in
it's
the
like it's too long. It's only quote unquote 8 episodes. But I think yeah, the finale criticism, because a lot of people I also talked to someone else this week who did not like the show and hasn't even finished it. They were struggling to just finish the 4th episode.
there's a not just about Feud, and this article I don't love that it uses Mr. and Mrs. Smith as like its lead, but there's a great article in the Times that was called The Comfortable Problem of Mid TV. And
Mhm, yes,
it's a
yes.
lot of what we've been talking about, where it's the subhead is it's got a great cast, it looks cinematic, it's fine, and it's everywhere. And talks about like how you would never miss an episode maybe of Atlanta or Pen 15, but Mr. and Mrs. Smith is just like background. And like the nut graph is basically like, I've watched all these shows. They're not bad. They're simply mid, which is what makes them frustratingly as emblematic of the current moment in TV as their stars' as previous shows or of the ambitions of the past. We now have a profusion of well-cast, sleekly produced competence. We have tasteful remakes of familiar titles. We have the evidence of healthy budgets spent on impressive locations. We have good enough new shows that resemble great old ones. We've entered the golden age of mid-TV. This is not a bad premise for an article.
No, I mean, I read that article too over the weekend. Yeah, I think like the premise itself is fine, but I agree like Mr. and Mrs. Smith is the wrong show to use that for.
So many other bad. There's so many other mid shows that I would be like,
Yeah,
you can
like the
sub in.
show that I mean, oh, I greatly enjoyed The Diplomat, but it's like that's like the type of show
Yeah,
that
or
you
even like, there's other shows too I would put in there. But I think the premise is great.
yeah, the premise is I think correct.
And that it feels like with Feud is like would file under that premise, or it has the sheen and imprimatur of like a
Yeah.
great peak TV
I mean,
show,
it's you know, the second season of an anthology series.
but is like fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know anyone who loves it.
And this is kind of the problem. This is why I feel like in terms of limited series, why I was like so immediately like Anna Sawai for show. Like I'm just like in the shows that popped, we know we could tell there's enthusiasm for them. Shogun, Baby Reindeer. Those are like runaway enthusiastic hits. And a lot of other things we've seen, even like The Sympathizer, which I loved, not as enthusiastic response.
Yeah, I mean, well, Sympathizer, I think, you know, it's a little bit more highbrow, you know,
Yeah,
and like
you were hip
more
to this
also
right
more
away.
politically charged.
You were hip to the highbrowness right away. You were like, this is going to be the arty thing that doesn't make it in series because it's too arty, and I think that is going to bear fruit.
Yeah, and I think well, this week is the 4th episode, right?
If you're watching this, if you've been on the show and you're on the fence and like it's fine, the 4th episode is the best episode of TV I think I've seen of anything this year, including Hacks. It's an incredible hour of television, and so I would
Yeah, so
suggest
that's
watching
I
it.
think that's this Sunday. Yeah, I think but I think like the people who watch The Sympathizer though, like it has its fans. Like I think that there are people who love it, and I just don't know if you can apply that with Feud. And
No,
maybe there's
I guess
something
that's
about the
right.
4th episode, like people just can't
I guess that's
get
right. Feud
past.
is like a
We've heard
tough.
so much feedback about
Yeah,
like this, and um, so I don't know, but like, well, one of the questions was like, how do we think like voters finish shows that they don't even like?
I think a lot of people do finish shows they don't even like, and I think they end up putting shows they just watched in. Because I think there's, and I guess I want the thing you have to figure out when you're filling out these ballots is like we said, will you list all five? Or are you just going to be like, I like Shogun and Baby Reindeer, so I'm just putting those two and nothing else.
Yeah, I think they So if I'm not into a show, I would just quit. But I know some people who are completists, right? And they try to like see it through, or they're just maybe just like passively watching a show too, and they just end up finishing it.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like people in the industry, especially, with like the end of the strikes, is like they're going back to work. So it's like how much time do they actually have
Right.
to watch shows? So like they'll obviously watch their like top faves. And then if they're not feeling a show, like Feud, are they gonna continue it? And
I
then
don't
if
know.
they don't continue it and it's time to vote, it's like, oh, I watched 4 episodes and it was okay.
Well,
Like I think like something with like Welcome to Chippendales, I think that was entertaining too.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
we dropped pretty much. We both, I think, dropped feud all over the place. I think I still have it for Tom Hollander, but that's it.
I still have Naomi.
And I'm like,
Oh, I think I have Treat too.
if it got in all these other places, if it got in a lot of places, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. But also, if it missed everywhere, I wouldn't be surprised either.
I can see actors backing it still because
Yeah.
it's like they're all like doing something. But although the person I was talking to this week, they hated Tom Hollander.
It's a very, very accurately mannered performance.
Yeah.
Joyce,
So
last one here. We're gonna wrap it up. This one's from Caitlin. And I'll let you answer it actually first because you probably get the first part of it better than me. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Who had the better bee invasion? Tennis or baseball? I saw that baseball one last night at the Diamondbacks Dodgers game was delayed
yeah,
for hours
it was
because there
delayed for
was
2 hours, not hours.
that's hours. That's two is hours
Yeah,
if
but
it's
it's like
12.
when you say hours, you like the implication is like it's 6 hours or something.
2 hours is still hours, but
It's
okay,
still
two
hours,
hours
yes.
and multiple hours. And there was a swarm of bees on the netting behind home plate. They had to clear out the whole behind home plate. They had to wait for a beekeeper to come in from his kid's t-ball game or little league game, and he got a hero's welcome and sucked them all in. And then throughout the first pitch, it was a great moment for the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. A lot of good memes. I didn't see the tennis one at all, I gotta say.
The tennis one is iconic and so much better than the baseball one. The tennis
Okay,
one was in March in Indian Wells. We talked about this too, because I think we also got a question about it.
okay,
Like
okay.
about like because then in Miami there was a cat on court.
I think I remember this now. Okay, yes.
So the tennis one was in Indian Wells in March, and the swarm of bees descended upon the spider cam. So already this is better because it's a spider cam and that fucking moves. It's not the netting, which is stationary really. And this was happening mid-match between Carlos Alcaraz and Alexander Zverev.
Hmm.
And Carlos freaked the fuck out because he hates bees, understandable. So
Who
he was
doesn't? Who
like,
likes bees? I guess would be
no,
the
no one
question.
likes bees. So he was just like, initially you think it's like one or two, so he's trying to like swat them away, and
Yeah.
then became clear that it was a whole colony. And then like they zoom in on the spider cam, and it's like by the chair ump and everything, and like there's footage of like because it was during the match, like Carlos like running to the back trying to escape them. So it was better, and also the removal was way better because
Okay.
they called Lance Davis of Killer Bee Removal, and he came, and this guy is a fucking warrior, better than whoever the Diamond's back got, because
This.
no mask, no helmet, no gloves. He just went right in there, sucked them all up into his vacuum or whatever he uses. So totally fearless. I took many, many videos of this when it was happening because the tennis channel just broadcast the whole thing.
It's awesome.
So it was so much more fun than last night's because it was like he like that guy just like did it and then it was like kind of boring. But Lance also ran around the stadium to because he was like spraying stuff around the stadium too, and he was taking selfies and high-fiving the fans who are still in
Okay.
the stadium, and I was doing around the court too. So then it also took like an hour and a half, like 2 hours. But the reason I was taking umbrage with the hours thing was because there was also a tweet last night, like when the whole thing started, and someone was like, the game could be canceled because this could take hours. I'm like, it's not going to be canceled. Like clearly you didn't know what happened at Indian Wells.
They
And
didn't. They
it
did
was
not let.
it was like early evening Pacific time too. It was not like it was like
No,
11 p.m., It
I
was
was in
not.
bed, but no, it was not late.
Yeah,
I also,
they started at like 8:30
yeah,
like Pacific
they
time.
did scratch Jordan Montgomery from starting, which
Yeah.
made me laugh because of the
Yeah.
delay. Like
Yeah,
I
but
suppose.
like the tennis one was way better. And then
Okay.
when they resumed the match, like Carlos was still scared of the bees. So then they had another chat with Lance and they like shook hands and everything. And then there was also a bee on his like tennis bag. during the changeover, I have this great screen grab of him, and he's just like staring at the bee.
Wow.
He's like, "Are you gonna attack me?" And then he had them like move the trash can next to his chair because there was a bee inside. It was just great all around. So we didn't
Sounds
have
good.
that last night.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Joyce, that's it for today. So email us at
Send us your
slugfest@goldder.com.
bee questions.
Send us your bee questions for sure.
Yeah.
What do we got next week? We can talk about the sugar finale. Anything else?
It's not the finale, it's the twist.
Oh, sorry. The twist is this week. You're right.
Yeah,
We're
it's
talking about the
Friday. So
sugar
we
twist.
can't talk about it today.
Wink. And then other stuff I'm sure we'll come up with.
Well,
Perhaps.
next Thursday is the deadline for submissions.
Right. So maybe we'll get some more exclusives.
Any last minute changes? I think it's really hard to see anyone changing when there's also been like, ads printed already.
The ads are tough. I still think there's a world where Ripley gets moved, but I'm not gonna
You're running out of time.
I'm not gonna truth her
right
that one
now.
too much. So I'm gonna leave it in limited. We'll talk then. All right. Bye, Joyce.